Good evening, everyone. I am recording this video on a hot summer evening. It's June 20th, and I wanted to share with you a quick update here on market and some of my stock picks and thoughts about where we're heading from here. So I want to first quickly share the stocks that I invested in recently. And as you can see here, I put how much they've been up since I bought them, which was recent. And I want to share that I've bought and sold these stocks before. When I was doing more of a day trading or short-term trading, I was selling after reaching 15%, 15 to 20 gains, and I would sell. I'm changing my strategy a little bit now. I will mention in this video later on that it's more dividend oriented, cautious, and so this is recent. These are recent purchases and the gains, and I wanted to share with you here the dividends as well, meaning how much do these stocks pay in dividends. So AT&T, Apple, Airbnb, IBM, Gold, First Energy, and NRG Energy. And this is just an example from different sectors that I wanted to put in this presentation. As you can see, the dividend it's dividend focused, like I said before, but not every stock is. So Airbnb doesn't pay any dividend, but as you can see, it's the stock, one of the ones that have gained the most so far, and I anticipate it to gain more in the future, just because we are reopening travel, and I think people will start spending more on service and tourism industry, and with traveling, of course. And as you can see, Apple pays a very minimal dividend as well, and the reason why I bought it is because it's been trending lower, and I thought it was a buying opportunity. I think of Apple as a long-term, tech giant, and so the company will never go out of business. And if the stock does go through a correction or some kind of a downturn trend, I'm going to be one of the first to buy it because it's always going to be up in the future. At least that's my opinion in the long term. As for the rest, I think it's just to diversify. As you can see, the only stock that's gone down so far is Barrick Gold. This is a Canadian mining company, and I've bought and sold their stock. It's a little bit correlated. It's somewhat correlated with gold prices, and gold prices have been a little bit under pressure. But then I'll mention again here that I have some macroeconomic concerns about the economy and the market, and so I anticipate inflation will be more effective or more impactful on our economy, which would usually push gold prices and commodities up. So we'll see. We'll see if I'm going to be correct. So just my investment thesis in these last couple of months is I'm very bullish on AT&T, and I'll share with you why. I'm conservative in my approach to selecting and buying stocks. Like I said, dividend is important for me, and in times of crashes or bear market or high inflation, kind of like maybe stale market, dividend stocks will prove to be really resilient. They generate income, and so generally people would be more interested in buying those as opposed to a stock that would go up and down significantly. That is an unsafe an unsafe stock. And so with my economic concerns, I'm really worried about a few things. One, the economy being overheated. So if you look at unemployment and current rate of unemployment and the shortage of workers around the nation, it's very worrisome. And so when conditions like that happen, and then you have the federal government increasing spending and all that money that's been accumulated in the system, it generates pressure towards higher inflation. And then the Federal Reserve doesn't have the tools right now to fight inflation, even if they call it transitory or or basically the Federal Reserve believes that the inflation rates that have been high recently and will likely continue to be higher than the target inflation rate is just temporary. I personally I differ in my opinion about why it's not necessarily temporary, but we'll see. So the reason why I am concerned is that I expect inflation to persist because the Federal Reserve is unable to raise interest rate, just as an example, for at least 2 years. So we're going to be near 0% interest rates for a long time, and we have been for a long time. So we'll see where that leads us. For me, that makes me concerned about the overall well-being of the economy. So let's go back here. All right, so stock pick is AT&T. Why do I pick that stock? I previously bought and sold it, and I've previously bought it and kept it, and I recently bought a lot more and intend to keep. Now, what's happening with AT&T? AT&T, as you may know, is a giant telecommunication business. They're one of the biggest, like telephone businesses in the United States, and they're expanding abroad as well. They also supply internet, and they've recently got into the business of streaming. So they had this deal where they invested billions of dollars that would bring streaming businesses to AT&T. I think a lot of people, including myself, thought that wasn't a good idea, and I'm glad that the current leadership of AT&T realized that as well. So they sold the stake in Discovery for I believe it was something like $40 billion. I don't have the information. It's been a few weeks since that has happened, but basically the deal is shows that the leadership is now focusing on the telecommunication business and kind of stepping away from that. It wasn't a failing streaming and media, but more like it was a burdensome business to add to the telecommunication business. So there's separation now. The stock's dividend will decrease, but it will still continue to be among the highest ones in terms of how safe and reliable the company is. And then one of the cool facts, and again, I urge you to look into it because like I said, it's very hot in here, and I haven't read or reminded myself about the deal recently. But I remember that AT&T stock owners would own something like 70 or 71% share of the Discovery new stock that's going to be separated from the AT&T one. So overall, I think the company has potential for growth and will probably lead the telecommunications sector in the U.S. And they have the potential to do that, and the infrastructure. So I'm very bullish on AT&T for growth. Additionally, the dividend isn't going to be bad anyway, so I'm keeping this for a long term. I may, sell some of the stocks that I recently bought, but AT&T I do intend to keep for a while. So in conclusion, if we're in a bubble and then the bubble bursts for stocks, I don't think people hear this enough times. Buy when the bubble bursts. Buy when there is a crash. There is no way to really time the bottom of a stock or of the market. But if you know the company, and I've said this in my previous videos, only buy companies that you know. Only buy companies that you understand if it's reliable, if it's risky, if it's going to be up and down, if it's cyclical, if it's staples. That's my biggest advice really to new investors. And I make these videos to new investors because they're not very sophisticated. My goal is to educate people to get into the stock market, and so they can generate more wealth and understand the economy from a different perspective too. So that's why I say when you see something crashing and you know it and you know it's going to persist in the future, buy it. It's a good discount. Consumer staples, and I can make a different video about that. That sector, consumer staples, is what you think of as the items that you would buy whether you have a job or you don't, really. The same items that a millionaire would buy and a person who is on a minimum wage job would buy. So there's the staples that you would need. And so these companies that tend to sell or manufacture or offer staple products, they, in the event of a crash, they would definitely go down, but they would not go out of business, especially the giant ones. So they usually are well positioned, or they will persist in a case of a crash. And then if you believe that growth will continue, and this is actually a really interesting economic conversation, it's really fascinating what's happening with the federal government and spending and unemployment. I mentioned inflation. There may be some geopolitical issues as well. We'll see. But in general, I'm a little bit pessimistic considering how much growth and how much the stock prices have risen over the last year. I think it's more likely that we're going to see a slower probably momentum in the economy and the stock market rather than a more aggressive growth. So, but if you do believe that growth is going to continue, one of the simplest thing you can do is buy index funds. So, just stay with the S&P, you can stay with, the Dow, and then you're going to do as good as these large indexes would do. So, I hope this was helpful for you, and I hope I wasn't just blabbering information. Like I said, it's really hot in here, and that's why I'm not turning on my camera. But I wanted to make this video because it's been a while, and I'm hoping that this is helpful because I wanted to emphasize how much of a discount I think AT&T is at this point. And like I said, I don't think AT&T is going to be one of those stocks that's going to skyrocket 200%. No. In fact, my theory I anticipate that it would go up for about 30% by next year. So that's my goal, and I think that's pretty decent for a stock that I will own long term. So, and then if you have any questions, please let me know. You can post it in the comments or just reach out. I hope you have a good rest of this weekend, and I'll see you in the next video.